In these days, high fuel price is one of the biggest economy problem in Bangladesh. The price of fuel rises around 50%, and that is the highest rate in 20 years. As you can see on the screen, petrol price rises from 86 taka to 130 taka. So behind the price hike, there are some possible and logical reasons as well as controversies. Some policymakers says that was necessary decision for the government to tackle the subsidy problem, and some blaming the Ukraine-Russia war, and some policymakers and experts are saying that the crude oil is as well as we know, it is a international traded commodity. So the price is changing demand for global demand and supply factors. So there are some as well as possible solutions. Some countries are using them. First one is government could waive tax on fuel. Second one is start a travel scheme that allows everyone to travel across the country by the public transport and with a monthly ticket. And the system was invented by Germany government. They are using that. The last one is government can provide subsidized fuel to the farmers. As we know, in Bangladesh, 75% machinery is run by fuel and oil.
Bangladesh economy faces lots of problems and inflation is one of them. Inflation means the increase of price level and other necessary products in the market that have great impact on the total economy. So there have four types of inflation called creeping, walking, galloping and hyperinflation. Creeping inflation in some cases is important to increase the investment, but hyperinflation is not acceptable in any case, at any case. What hyperinflation means? The price level increase 50% or more than that of the amount is called hyperinflation. It can totally damage the economic. Recently, Bangladesh faced the hyperinflation. Sri Lanka and other countries faces that problem tremendously. What Bangladesh government and other sector can take to reduce the inflation? There have three steps I will follow: fiscal policy, monetary policy and structural reform. Fiscal policy can be taken by government by increasing tax and reducing investment. These two steps can be followed to reduce the inflation. Second, monetary policy that can be central bank by increasing tax. Through this process, Bangladesh central bank can reduce the flow of cash in the market. Thus, the inflation will decrease. And the last, structural reform. This is very important, just because some policymakers should take proper step and development process should be followed in this structural reform stage, so that this problem can be easily solved.
Our foreign reserve has decreased in big amount. Last year we had 45 billion US dollar. Now it is 32 billion dollar. Due to shortage in foreign reserve, Bangladesh Bank is not giving any LC to the importer. So sugar, medical equipment and other things are not available to the country. Governments are facing shortage in raw materials. Our banking are also facing economic risks. They have not enough capital because they have huge amount of default loan. To manage economic risks, we should solve our dollar crisis. Government should give extra facilities to exporter to export more while raw material, while luxurious product will not be imported. Migrant workers will send remittance in banking channel. Stop. Administration need to prevent illegal money supply to other countries. To solve our banking crisis, authority must make people interested in saving in bank. Bank official will investigate strictly while giving a bank loan to reduce default loan. This is my point.
Corruption is a barrier to the economic development of a country. It arises with a weak management system and nepotism. It exists in Bangladesh because there is monopoly power on decision making, no accountability and low level of income. Combating corruption is not easy task. Still, no one denies the need to check corruption effectively. It may not be possible to eradicate corruption completely, but then vigorous and determined actions will go a long way to minimize it. Institutional reform of the responsible bodies for overseeing corruption is an important factor to combat corruption. It refers to the institutional restraints on power. The institutional designs of the state can be an important mechanism in checking corruption. Reward and punishment in the system and practices of rule of law is also an effective way to combat corruption. If the rule of law is practiced, the culprit will be punished by the law. By this practice, corruption can be eradicated, and digital governance, which means that transparency, is also a great factor in eradicating corruption. By making procurement information transparent and available, corruption can be combated. This is how we can eradicate corruption from Bangladesh. Thank you.
The concern for debt servicing has been echoed in the case of Bangladesh too. According to the central bank data, the amount of foreign loans taken by the government was 67.29 billion at the end of September 2022. Of the amount, about 56.54 billion was directly borrowed by the government as long-term loans. The remaining 10.75 billion was borrowed by various government institutions. The country's foreign debt have more than doubled in just 6 years. However, the country needs to be cautious so that unforeseen future shocks does not create any debt distress. Because of higher debt servicing payment, there would be less availability of resources for development and other priority expenditures. This will put pressure on public finance. Resources that could have been spent on essential sectors like health, education, and public investment are now being dedicated to interest payments. Because of revenue constraints, the government has borrowed hard-term loans from foreign lenders, resulting in higher interest and payments. Also have reduced the grace periods. Borrowing and debt payment would be harder and costlier for Bangladesh, as Bangladesh graduated to a lower middle-income country. In that context, the country should also look to attract non-debt creating financial inflows, such as foreign direct investment. The issue of export diversification is a long-standing issue in Bangladesh. With global growth being sluggish, this is extremely important for Bangladesh if foreign exchange revenue is to be enhanced. Furthermore, Bangladesh should ensure best use of the costly loans through quality implication of project as well as taking misuse and leakage of funds.
Another economic problem of Bangladesh is trade deficit. What is trade deficit? Trade deficit means when the imports is greater than the export, it is called trade deficit. How can we solve this trade deficit? There are some techniques to follow to solve this matter. We can consume less, save more for our future, and import less in the future. Suppose you are a housewife, you can consume less and you can save for the future. Thus, you don't need to buy these products again and again. By doing this, you can save and imports little. Another one is depreciation of the exchange rate. It means you will depreciate the value of your exchange rates and you will import less. Another one is tax reduction. If you reduce the tax of trade, you will import or export more and you can solve the problem. Many traders tend to take loan from the bank. If the bank loan is decreased, they will be very helped and they will export more and more. So by doing these all steps, we can hope to reduce the trade deficit. Thanks, sir. That's all by my side. Thanks from my group.